Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to, well, it's not my favourite day. Richmond got flogged last night in the football, but don't worry because Melbourne Storm is going to play tonight and restore the equilibrium of the world. But welcome to Esports Friday with our esport guru, who has proudly said after 9 episodes he thought he should change his cap. Cameron Osborne, welcome to Esports Friday.
Thank you. So, commiserations about your sporting team. I'm just kidding. I know the Tigers. I've still got the Falcons represented though. Just to be clear, I wanted to make sure that I've always got that there. I don't know why. I need color, so the red is very vibrant, and I have a vibrant personality and a red beard, and for some reason, I just like to be colorful when I do these things.
Now, speaking of colour, before we get into it, we've got very, very avid fans. So those that are watching online, just let us know that you're watching. Chuck a comment into the Facebook comments. Ask your questions all the way through. But I know you get your feedback on a weekly basis from your mum, Cam. So how have you been travelling on your on the feedback from your mum?
I actually haven't heard from her this week, so maybe I need to do more to check in and get the feedback. I did actually speak to her about the Nigel Smart interview, but she said she was going to watch it, but she hasn't got back to me. So I'd be interested to hear what my mother thinks about the chief operating officer of a big sporting club, an elite sporting club like the Adelaide Crows, and why they're in esports. So that'll be interesting. So, Mum, when you get there, give me a call. Let me know what you think.
Well, good morning to you too, Deb. And one of the things I found interesting about Adelaide Crows, just higher level than the esports side of it, was the fact that they have got AFL men's, AFL women's. They've got, what did they say, 4 or 5 different esport teams. And they've also got the Adelaide Giants baseball to create a really interesting strategy, which we'll get Nigel back on to talk more broadly about, hopefully. But Cam, you point out that this is our 9th week of Esports Friday. So I agree with you. It's a really good time to take a breath and say, well, what have we learned? For me, it's been significant. So take us back on that journey.
Okay. Yeah. 9 weeks. Not bad, hey? Esports has captured some of us a bit more than I guess, maybe I thought it would. You keep raving on about how it's your favorite time of the week. There you go. I made the plug for you that time instead of you saying it this week. But yeah, it's been a very interesting journey to go on. So the first week we talked, I guess it was our introduction. We looked at kind of the congruence between esports and traditional sports and the grassroots, and we had a bit of an introduction into what it all is. And I think I probably threw about 150 different Chrome tabs at people of all these different sports and what was happening. And I guess we were kind of coming at it then with the mindset of sports cancelled, what do we do? But that's evolved a lot over the last 9 weeks. We're looking well beyond sports cancelled. We're looking at, okay, what do we do now that sport's back, and how do we keep this going, and how can we adapt and come with the times? So it's certainly evolved along the journey. The second week, we looked at kind of what streaming platforms there were. We learned about Twitch. We learned about YouTube, and more than just the Facebook. How do you go about watching a Twitch stream and why that's different from YouTube, those sorts of things. Then we were looking at some tournaments and how you can go about running a tournament at your club in the third week. The fourth week, we're looking at how you actually stream. How do you go about putting a game on a video screen? How do you go and show your mug to the world? And throw a hat on every week and make people laugh and smile and cry and do all those sorts of things. Then week 5, we were looking at live engagement, and we were looking at some of the similarities between what you might find in esport and virtual sport and gaming online versus the real world. And we were drawing a lot of analogies there between broadcasting as a sport and what you would do as a club going into that world. And then we were in week 6. That was my disappearing week. We had a special guest, the Esport Whiz, or I can't remember the title that you gave him that week, but ran us through some esporters entertainment Hi, Anne, as well. Welcome to the stream. Good to have you here this morning. So esport is entertainment and engagement, which is what we were just doing. So great to have you here, Anne. And then, of course, we got into the similarities between sport and esport, and I threw about 5 minutes of Rocket League footage at you and asked you if you could see anything familiar. So hopefully you haven't forgotten any of that. And then last week, Nigel Smart, the COO of Adelaide Crows, took us on a bit of a journey of what they were doing. And so that's the last 8 weeks, which we've put into a little playlist on Facebook. So if you want to look back at any of those and see if you can pick up anything from the learnings over the last 8 weeks of esports, we've got a playlist on Facebook, and we'll continue to add the Esports Friday to that playlist as well. So I guess it's been a big journey so far, Steve. Would you say you've learned something? I hope you've learned more than one thing.
Oh, Cam, I learn something every week. And Deb and Anne, I'll throw to you as we really reset a little bit in this episode, and then decide where we take Esports Fridays over the next couple of months even. What sort of information do you want to learn about? What sort of questions have you got about esport? And to anyone else that's either watching this live stream or watching the video afterwards, please put into the comments, what are your questions about esport that that you would like us to explore, or is there avenues or people involved in esport that you think we should talk to and interview? Because every single thing, every time we talk, I learn something, Cam, and I learn that there's a lot of similarities between esport and traditional sport, the way it's delivered, and then there's a lot of differences, but there's also a huge number of things that I think community sports clubs can learn from esports. And one of those things unquestionably is esport has worked out how to engage its audience really well and grow its audience.
At least in a digital sphere.
Yeah.
Digitally, they've learned how to do that very, very well. I think community sport really know how to get a conversation going with people in their community. But yeah, I think you're right. Esports has got the digital engagement down really, really well. We were talking in the the 6th week about some of the more well-known Aussie YouTubers, and for a bit more information on that topic, the name Laserbeam and Loser Fruit were thrown out, which probably to most people, what does that mean? But Laserbeam is an Aussie YouTuber who's the number 3 Australian YouTube channel in the country, with 15 million subscribers and over 5 billion views on YouTube. And he's a gamer, and all he does is do Fortnite videos and all sorts of weird and wacky gaming videos. Contrast that with Cricket Australia, who's the number 1 Australian sports team or body on YouTube, with 5 million subs. So it's a whole nother world. That's just, apparently gamers are really good at engaging with people, and I think that's why we found it so fascinating about what community can learn about trying to engage with people that are part of their community. Because as Nigel Smart said last week, everyone's gaming these days. His whole list, everyone on his teams, they're all gamers, whether they're part of the esports team or whether they're part of the football teams, they're all gamers. So I think that's something that we need to address as we evolve our community clubs. It's that almost everyone coming through the doors these days is a gamer. Maybe the people that have been there before aren't, but everyone coming through the doors through the junior pathways and the younger people, they're all gamers. So we got to find ways to engage with that.
Yeah, and just picking up on Deb's point, Cam, where esports for me is understanding what the hell my son is talking about when he's not on the field. Sorry, not myself. No, I think that's the point of Esports Friday. And Deb, I'd love for you to talk to your son about what he's doing, what he's playing, why he's doing it, and how is he engaging? Is he just playing in isolation, or how is he engaging with his mates, his friends, or his virtual mates and friends? And let's just see how that's working. And Susanna, welcome to you. We were chatting yesterday from the city of Cumberland. So finding out more about esports is exactly why we started this, because I didn't know anything about it. So
and as we're kind of the traditional sport is sort of turning away from esport now, I guess because when COVID hit our shores, we kind of went, okay, what do we do now? And the traditional sports all went, we don't know what to do. Let's maybe try virtual sport and gaming. But now that that's sort of starting to wrap up, the V8 supercars have finished their run. They're going to be racing soon. The AF footy's back, NRL's back. We're kind of turning our eye away from it a little bit. But really, I think we should be looking at it as how can we maintain some of this and how do we keep this engagement going? And maybe that's the place that the grassroots can fill the gap and look at this more from a community aspect about, okay, maybe we don't understand how this works now, but maybe we can figure out a way to continue the engagement as we move forward.
Yeah, and that was one of the learnings that I got from last week listening to Nigel Smart, and we'll explore their high school competition a lot more over coming weeks, is the fact that they're trying to get some more organisation into esport, to make it more of a pathway, to make it more obvious about how something can progress into from. As the legacy team was, it was just four mates, Cam, that were just playing. They were just gaming amongst themselves. They got better and better and better to the point where they got purchased by an elite or professional sporting organisation. So that's a really interesting model that I really want to explore.
I think Deb makes a good point there about it being something that Deb's not really into. But you don't understand the intrigue, Deb. But I think that's no different to me looking at, say, people who love cricket. I'm not really interested in cricket that much. I don't understand the intrigue. I can't watch it for 12 hours a day. And then I watch other people. My partner, Gabby, she loves it. She goes nuts for cricket and will sit there during the summer and consume hours and hours and hours. I don't think there's much of a difference between me not understanding, what esports is and me not understanding where onside is. Like, I don't know which leg stump. Is that the left or the right? I don't understand. It's not really much of a difference, is it?
Yeah, and speaking of cricket, welcome to you, Emma Gallagher. I don't understand people can't watch cricket for 6 to 8 hours at a day. That's a ridiculous comment, but but yeah, Emma, I agree that this is the areas that I'm really fascinated now in, is understanding how we can not use esport, because that's insulting to esport, but how we can learn and collaborate and exchange ideas, create pathways in and out that help each other, I think is sounds like that really fascinates me. I really think there's a lot we can learn on that, particularly on that engagement space. And
something that the gaming world does very, very well is the live engagement, the community engagement, and something that we talk about all the time about how you can better engage with your community. And this week, just gone, we've seen the announcements of the next generation of gaming consoles. So I think it's a really good opportunity to be with the new PlayStation and the new Xbox, the PlayStation 5. Wait, I've got a picture of it.
You might need to screen
that fancy thing, and then we've got the Xbox Series X. So these are things you're going to start hearing talk about. The Xbox Series S, which some people think it looks like a small fridge. Design, not always my cup of tea. But these are coming either the end of this year or the start of next year. So this is soon. The next generation. There hasn't been a console released since the Xbox One, which was, probably 20 2013 or 2014. So it's been at least 5 years since we've had a console come out. So this is going to be a big deal, and potentially we can have. And there goes the bank balance. Yeah, it's coming. So this is an opportunity for clubs to be saying, okay, there's going to be a whole new wave of interest in consoles. Maybe this is a good opportunity for clubs to find how they can be a part of this next generation of gaming consoles, and not just look at what you can learn from esport, but be a part of esport, be a part of the gaming world, and add that to all of the offerings you already bring to your community, and bring everybody under the one roof.
Yeah, and again, we'll explore it from a research perspective in coming weeks, Cam. But back in 2013, the Australian Sports Commission released some research undertaken by the CSIRO called Megatrends into Australian Sport, predicting what would happen over the next 30 years. And one of the key behaviours that they predicted, so this is 2013, so we had the benefit of 7 years of hindsight now. One of the things that they predicted was that the conversions of esport, or the rise of esport, but also the conversions of esport into traditional sport. And I think that's where we will explore. But I will leave you on how this Esports Friday is growing up, growing into a little bit of a nightmare, because I have been challenged this evening by my two 6 and 8 year old daughters to some PlayStation dance esport competition, which unfortunately I only dance when I'm drunk, so there's a problem with that already. So, but they seem to think that this should be our regular Friday night activity, since that Richmond have now stopped winning. So,
surely that's not forever.
Kicking and screaming into esport, not as in those sort of competitions that you've talked about and you play, but my daughters have different opinions, Deb, and that's my Friday night, it appears.
Just a question there from Emma Gallagher about the movement toward connection between different platforms and consoles. We did talk about that on an earlier episode, about how it's not so easy to be able to play between the different consoles. And I will have to get back to you to confirm that, but I do believe that is something that Xbox and Sony, Microsoft and Sony, the two makers of the consoles, have been opening the discussions about. Before, it's always been a case of no, you can't play with my people can't play with your people. But I do believe that that's where we're headed. So I'll get back to you next week, and I'll get a confirmation of that, Emma, and we'll see if we can clear that up. But yeah, I do believe that's where it's headed.
A good idea for a guest too, I would have thought, Cam, that we might get someone on from the consoles. If we can get Adelaide Crows on, we can get anyone on.
Yeah, I reckon.
So
sounds good.
Brilliant, Cam. Well, that we'll keep giving us your ideas of where you'd like to explore. Emma, I'm all very much on what you're talking about. How can we collaborate, traditional sport and esport, and that's certainly my theme for the next 3 months worth of Esports Friday. So really excited to explore that side of esport and the crossover, whereas at the same time really excited to just learn pure esport as well, Cam. So keep taking us into the depths of esport. And I guess next week, Cam, I'd really like to if you can just, the people with the biggest followings, the gamers with the biggest followings in YouTube, Twitch, let's have a look. Let's explore what they're doing on their channels. What are they doing that's creating these mega audiences? And let's start to have a look at what they're doing, and then we'll start to invite a few on.
Sounds good. I know Loserfruit's moved back to Victoria, so maybe we can get Loserfruit on. She's a local. The question about how do you start to engage gamers from your community? Well, I think that's a bigger question to answer. That's something we can go into in a bit more detail on another stream. But yeah, a small tournament, not a bad idea. And I think, what week did we look at that? In week 3 might be a good week to go back in the playlist and have a look at some of the ideas that you can get for how to engage and how to run a tournament for your club.
I like that. How do we engage gamers from my community? And Susanna will pick that up because one of the things that came out of the discussions, various discussions, Andrew Walton and Nigel Smart, is that it's still a very new sport. It's very fragmented. It's very disjointed, and it's very and so how can we then start to bring that? So from your perspective as a local council, I see that as a tremendous opportunity, kind of in the same way, and maybe I'm off track here, Cam, but I see gaming potentially for council being the same sort of benefit for the community that skate parks did, that skate parks are. They're non-traditional sport, but highly engaging. So leave that one with us. I love the questions. I love the comments. I love the angles, and we'll just explore those over coming weeks. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. All right, Campbell, I think Esports Friday, I need to go and A, practice to dance, and B, try and forget last night on the Tigers, but look forward to Melbourne Storm and lots of other community sport coming back over the next couple of weeks. So until next week, Cam, nothing else from you, is there?
Oh, I mean, the story's never ending. So let's stop today before we keep going for another half hour, I reckon.
Yeah, and to everyone who was interactive in today's session, thank you very much. This is where we want to take these sessions, so that we're building our community, we're learning from each other, and we're sharing from each other. You tell us what you need, we will go and find it, because no one says no to coming and talking on the Sports Community live stream, Cam. So you keep setting us challenges, and we'll keep trying to find the people that can answer them. So until next week, he's Cameron, I'm Steve, and thanks for being part of our sports community.